Hi, this is Bill Vales here for another edition of Your Backyard. Today we're at the Prouty Estate, but we could be anywhere. But what we're looking for today are mushrooms. And with me, my guest today is Marie Elwyn.
Hello.
How are you, Marie?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. It's great to have you here with us today.
Beautiful fall day in Massachusetts. Early fall before all the leaves start to come down and cover up all the mushrooms.
Well, yeah, very true, very true. This is probably the quickest show I've ever attempted to put together, so thanks for being here on such short notice.
Sure. It's all a mystery.
Yeah. So how long have you been studying mushrooms, collecting mushrooms, interested in mushrooms?
I've always been interested in mushrooms, and I thought I would live to not ever find anyone that knew anything about mushrooms. And one day the world opened up of mycology. Little did I know, I think from early on in my early teens I've been a naturalist, and I didn't know there was an actual name for my condition. Yeah. I've just always loved nature. I've always loved being outdoors, and I've always wanted to find one person that could walk in the woods with me and show me what I'm looking at. And I've discovered that it's an incredible hobby, and it gets you outside. You don't move very fast because you'll miss things, but once you find your spots, you can zoom over to them when the weather's right and see if you can find some mushrooms.
Okay, so the study of mushrooms is called?
It's called mycology.
Mycology, okay.
All mushrooms have Latin names.
Sure.
The seasoned mycologists, biologists and ecologists and all kinds of guys that have been, and women that have been doing this for decades, they speak in a different language. They speak in Latin when they're talking about the different species in all the different genus, and it's
sure. And that's not just mushrooms. That's everything in the various kingdoms and phylum and genus and species and subspecies. It's taxonomy.
And with DNA being as fine-tuned as it is now, they're actually changing names of mushrooms. They thought it was this family and it's that one, and it's driving people crazy.
Sure. Well, we selected the Prouty Estate because you were up here, I think last week with Carol, and you were walking in the woods with someone else that likes to walk in the woods, and you were scouting out mushrooms, and I think you found some areas of interest here, correct?
Correct, yes. There's several up here, and as we get more rain, we'll find more, I hope.
Okay. The reason that we started our show right here is because we have a mushroom.
Yeah. You were driving at the right speed, Bill. From a car, when you spot mushrooms, you can't go very fast.
Right.
And we were just coming up the hill, and you spotted a bolete.
A bolete.
Yes.
So why don't we get a picture of this bolete here? And maybe the easiest way to do this is to sit down by the bolete.
I don't like sitting on the ground.
So why is that? Is bolete a species, or is it a category?
It's a type of mushroom. I am an amateur, so you're not going to get exactly all the information from me today. There's a whole family of boletes, and there are many boletes.
Okay. So,
but they are this kind of mushroom. I guess I'm going to have to say this kind of mushroom doesn't have gills. It has pores.
Okay.
So if you can imagine, paper towel tubes, the little cardboard tube inside, all stacked together, that's what it looks like underneath this type of mushroom.
I see.
They don't have gills, and inside all of those pores, that's where the spore is.
Okay. And the spore is the mechanism used for reproduction, correct?
It's one of them. So this is some of the stuff that I've learned about mushrooms in general is there's a root system underneath the top of the soil. Some of them are, different types of mushrooms. They can just be hanging in the air too, but mushrooms that grow on the ground or in trees, there's a root system. It's called mycelia, and this is the actual mushroom itself. When you see a mushroom, that's a bloom. So when the conditions are right in nature, if we've gotten enough rain and the conditions are good, they'll bloom. And they bloom to help also spread the pores in addition to the mycelia growing. Like we had talked, there's one type of mycelia that was discovered in Oregon that's 2 miles in diameter. It's the same mushroom, but it's just grown underneath the ground.
Very, very interesting.
You can see on this tree here too,
Yep.
there's decay happening. So also when you see a mushroom or any kind of fungus, decay is happening. It could be in your house, it could be in your bathroom, where there's water over a long period of time, rot will happen. And if you see a mushroom pop out between the floorboards, you gotta call somebody quick.
Okay.
But when
I'll remember that. Is water a? You've mentioned water several times, and is water a good thing if you're looking for mushrooms?
Yes, water's good.
Okay.
Decay is good. Wet wood is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we? So what would you do if you saw this mushroom?
Well, I would grab my basket.
Okay, you have your
I have my
mushroom collecting basket.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would take out my knife and I would unsheath it and I would say, "You're coming with me." Because I know boletes, actually, now that I feel it, it's kind of dry.
Okay.
And if you look-
and what's telling you that it's dry?
Well, feel it. It's not real, it doesn't feel really vibrant.
Okay, and it's not bouncing back when I press it.
Yeah,
It's not bouncing back. Is that an indication that it's dry?
yes, it's been here a while.
Okay.
Also, if you see on this side of the stipe, which is the stalk, there's a big crack. So
Ooh.
it's drying up. It feels almost like a piece of wood.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe we'll leave this one.
Okay, so we'll leave this. But,
Yeah, we'll leave this one.
but that's interesting because you're talking a little bit about the parts of the mushroom. So
Yes.
this area here is called the stipe.
The stipe, yeah, or the stalk.
Stipe or
stem,
stalk or
yeah.
stem, okay. And this area here,
Is the cap,
that's the cap.
and underneath are the pores
Okay, the pores.
or the gills, depending on the mushroom.
Okay, depending on the type.
Yeah.
And this variety or family, we'll have to check that out in our taxonomy documentation, is called a bolete.
Yes, this is a type of bolete.
A type of bolete. Okay, so we're going to leave this here.
Yeah.
But this was a good introduction. And how long do you think it would take this to bloom? From the time we didn't see it till all of a sudden it's here.
Oh, I don't know exactly, but they do come right out when the conditions are right. You can almost watch them grow.
Oh, wow. Have you ever watched them grow?
I pretty much saw some. It's called coral. Coral. It looks like coral. Maybe we'll see some today. And it was raining. I like to go out in the rain,
Yeah.
and I didn't stand there long enough
Okay.
because I wanted to pick, but they were coming right up. You could see the leaves were just recently disrupted.
Yeah. Okay. We found some coral on a show that we did not that long ago, and okay.
Okay.
So let's journey on, and we'll see if we can find anything.
That sounds good, Bill.
Okay. Well, we've progressed a little bit through the forest, and we've run into an area that has some mushrooms.
Yes, we've discovered a couple of different ones. Now we have what we think might be another bolete, but we're not sure.
Okay. So how would you determine if it is a bolete?
That, again, that's where the paper towel tubes are all lined up underneath, that's called pores,
Okay.
as opposed to gills.
Okay. So that seems like a general grouping or attribute. You know, if a mushroom has pores, it's one variety, and if it has gills, it's another variety. And I'm using the term variety very loosely because in a taxonomy way, it may actually be family. We're going to have to figure that out.
Is it taxonomy or mycology?
Well, mycology would be the study of mushrooms, but taxonomy is the study of grouping all living things into various categories based on their attributes.
Okay, good.
So that's what taxonomy is.
So do we want to see if this is a bolete or a different type of mushroom?
Sure, what are you going to do?
I'm going to take my knife and give it a whirl.
Okay.
All right. So it's very camouflaged.
It is.
It's hard to look at, find, but we have right here a little cap. Can you see?
Oops.
Does it matter? Okay, so I'm going to dig down in the soil,
Okay.
pop it up. Aha. So this is not, this is not a bolete.
Okay, so first off, does this have gills or does it have?
Yes.
What was the other?
Yes, it has gills.
Okay, what was the other category?
Pores.
Gills or pores?
Yes.
And this has gills.
Yes. And it
Okay, point out the gills.
the gills are the long. There's a bug in there too. See him?
Well,
That was a classic mushroom bug. If you can see the gills, again, when you study mushrooms, you'll find that gills also tell you what kind of mushroom it is. If they're packed tight together, if they're spread out far from each other, if they're like this one where there's short ones and long ones, and if they go down the stipe or if they stop at the stipe, there's all terminology for every single thing that we're looking at.
okay, so would you say that these gills go down the stipe or do they stop at the stipe?
Without my glasses on, I can see that they stop before the stipe.
Okay.
There's also, in this wonderful world of fungi, there's also a microscopic study. So that's another.
And even study that, you know, at the DNA level that's even smaller than microscopic.
Yes. Should I inform our audience that we are more related to the kingdom fungi than we are to the plant kingdom as animals ourselves?
Well, you just did.
Yeah.
So do you want to provide a little more detail on that?
Well, that might just be enough to tweak an interest.
Okay, great.
Speaking of DNA.
Yep, that's great. Okay, so now what's your next step?
If I was going to keep this mushroom, say, I would what we call field cleaning, just cut off the dirt. You don't want dirt to fall down into your mushroom.
Okay. Okay, and I want to take a minute here and tell the audience that you should not be tasting mushrooms. You should not be eating them unless you're very skilled and a professional in mycology. You have to be able to understand what it is you're dealing with and have a proper identification. So would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. You have to know, any more than anything else you'd want to do to your body, you have to know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. So I know that you're comfortable tasting mushrooms. I do not share that level of comfort
Right.
with you, but I just feel compelled to say that to the audience. So,
Yeah.
okay, so let's continue with the identification.
All right. Now this mushroom is, we know it's dry out here.
Okay.
If this was the family of a milky type, there's a lactarius family of mushrooms where if you take a knife or sharp object and give it a cut, it will ooze milk if it's wet.
Okay.
If it's a dry mushroom, it might not do it. But we're going to try.
Okay.
Are we?
Okay, let's
so
try.
I'll take my knife
Mhm.
and I'll just make a cut like that. And will you wait a few seconds?
Now you cut across the gills.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't see anything happening. Do you, Bill?
I don't either.
If there was milk, it would be oozing little drops of white milk.
I see. And again, that could be for at least one or two reasons. One is that the mushroom is very dry.
That it's not oozing, right?
Okay. Or another could be that it's not of the variety that it's what's the term?
Lactarius.
Lactarius.
Like milk yes.
Lactarius.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't see anything, Bill, and I'm
Okay.
going to let the bugs continue their feast.
Okay.
Okay?
Great. All right. Now, when I noticed here, bending down to look at this mushroom, I feel with you like these are almost people, like I should address it.
See? You feel related.
Right, right. But I notice here, oh, I almost lost it there. Okay. What do we have here?
We have a little grouping of mushrooms. Are not only big, they're tiny.
Mhm.
And this is a type of I don't know the word. I can see it in my head, but I don't know how to pronounce it. They're just small mushrooms. Sometimes they'll grow on a leaf. You'll see them growing on a leaf like that.
Mhm. Now I noticed the cap on this has a different shape than the cap on this.
Yeah.
Okay, that this cap is somewhat bell-shaped.
Oh, there's bell shapes. There's little pointed ones. There's...
So that's another attribute that you can do in the field. Well, not just in the field, but for identification.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Color, shape, size, if they're clustered together, if they're growing singly, if they're growing in a fairy ring.
Oh, so what's a fairy ring?
A fairy ring is when the mycelia in the ground is just grown in a circle. And then when it wants to bloom, you'll see the mushrooms all in a circle.
Now, does that fairy ring over time, years, tend to move inward or outward?
Outward, yes, definitely. Like the one that we found in Oregon that just is 2 miles wide. It's because it keeps spreading out.
I see. I see. So that's a fairy ring. What do we have here?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's a dried up something or other.
Okay.
And we'll come back later when the rain is out and maybe we'll find it's bloomed in another spot.
Okay.
It's very difficult to identify a piece of dried up mushroom.
Okay. All right. Let's venture on to another place.
Maybe we'll find another lactarius.
Maybe. Well, here we are at another mushroom, and as you start getting tuned in to the environment, with mushrooms, I find myself looking down and somewhat out a little bit at eye level, but mostly down.
Yeah, don't limit yourself because mushrooms do grow up on trees too. There's several kinds that grow on trees, not just the polypore, which is like a shelf.
Okay.
Other wonderful mushrooms grow up on trees, so we do have to stand up.
Okay.
This hobby tends to get you all bent over before your
Okay.
time.
Okay. I know when I'm looking at rocks, I'm looking at a certain level. When I'm looking at birds, I'm looking at a different level. If I'm looking for like migrating hawks, I'm looking up. But mushrooms down and kind of at eye level.
Also, you look for color. If you're looking on the horizon of the forest, you look for a color, white or orange or blue, red. They'll pop out. But when it's, we try to get out there before all the leaves are coming down, and makes it harder to spot stuff.
Okay. We found this one that was well identified. It looked like it has the strength that it pushed right through some fairly hard ground.
Yeah.
What do you think we have here?
Well, again, we're going to take the knife and give it a whirl, see if we can get some milky liquid out of it.
Okay.
Or we'll just, if you want to get a close-up of that little mushroom, that's, I'm going to say, what, 5 inches across?
Yes. Yeah.
Has pushed up.
I would say that, and it's pushed up through the forest floor.
It's pushed up more than its weight.
Yeah.
Dirt and rocks.
Look at. Yeah.
It's
Wow.
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, look.
The shape of this one, you're going to find it's a deep cup. That's what's, I'm thinking it's a Lectarius.
Okay, so we're going to clean it off a little bit, and it is in the shape of a cup. There was really quite a bit of material
I know.
on that.
It's still gold. Look how deep it is. I mean, it's poor dear. Shall we pick it?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So now we want to see
We can see.
if there's gills or pores, correct?
Yeah, this has gills. Definitely has gills.
Okay, let's,
You can see the slugs love them. See that shiny stuff? That's
slugness.
slugness.
Okay, and this is probably where the slugs have actually ate the gills.
Yes.
Okay.
And the holes, they've eaten the mushroom.
Yeah, this is a little like, it looks like filter paper.
Isn't it
Almost.
awesome? I know.
Yeah, it is.
How they're wavy.
Yes.
So I'm going to give it a little cut.
Again, you're cutting across the gills.
Yeah, it's pretty tough too, so it's
Okay.
very dry.
Okay, so this one is dry.
But see, there's milk. See it, Bill?
Hang on,
You have to put
hang
your
on, hang on. And I'm keeping my eye on that knife, too.
See where it's bruised on the very end? It's very dry, but this was a nice one.
Okay.
And here's a little bit more. It's very tough. See anything happening?
No, I don't.
See right there how it's turning white?
Yes,
Against
yes,
the
I do.
brown?
I do.
So this was a good...
Is this a bolete?
No, this is a Lactarius.
Okay, a Lactarius.
Boletes
So
have the
bolete,
pores.
Lactarius.
Yeah,
Okay.
this has gills. And see how wavy the
Yeah.
gills
Boy,
are.
look at the pattern here.
That's another
that
probably
beautiful
identifying
beautiful
factor.
pattern
Yeah,
there.
that was a big, strong mushroom. So it dropped its pores, and the family will grow.
And the mycelium, that's the analogous to the root system?
Yes.
That's
yeah.
under the,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we might assume that there's mycelium under here.
Oh, definitely.
And we don't know how far it extends.
Right, right,
Okay, and clues to how far it extends will be when these pop up.
right. Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. I can tell you're really into this.
I love it. I love it. I read something recently that are between the ages of 60 to 80.
Are you referring to us or mushrooms?
Well, if you're looking for a new hobby, what I'm saying is you need to stretch your brain, and this is a great new hobby for me.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's great. Okay, well, let's venture on.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, here we are at another stop along the way, and there's another mushroom.
Another mushroom, and this one, honestly, I don't know what it is. We have looked at it. It does have gills, but it also has a very interesting characteristic of the shape of the stem, how it's grown sideways.
Okay. Let's take a look at that. This again looks fairly dry.
It's extremely dry, yeah. But if you can see, this has a very interesting way that it grows. And this is just another way to identify this particular mushroom. Could be a lactarius, I don't know. We'd have to do the test on it.
Okay, so let me.
Bill, turn it.
Yep.
Or turn it around.
Now, how would you characterize the shape of the cap?
Oh, it's, I don't know the term, if it looks like a little bun shape, doesn't it? A little round.
And underneath, do we have gills?
We have gills.
We do have gills.
Yes. Shall I give it the old test?
Okay.
All right.
This is to
See?
determine if it's a lactarian.
Yes.
Okay. Let's.
So, again, here on this one, I don't know, can you zoom on, see how there's
Yep.
a partial veil? Or partial, where it's still pulling out,
Oh yes,
it's
yes.
still opening, but it's so dry that it's kind of stopped.
So would you say then that has not fully bloomed yet?
Well, it could have gotten bigger, but it's just drying out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been, mission has been aborted. I'll give it a cut on the gills. See if it does the milk. I kind of don't think it's going to do it. It's just too dry.
And again, that may be a function of it being dry as opposed to it not being a lactarian.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very dry. Just in the environment in general.
But you can see someone really liked it.
Someone ate it.
Nice big bite out of it. Could be a squirrel. Sometimes you see the tooth marks.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll see the slug marks. Slugs actually have teeth, or I don't know if that's what they're called, but they have little grabbers in their mouth. And if you look on a mushroom, sometimes you see the little scrapings of how he went here and then he went over here, and they just kind of eat like that.
I see. So we'll have to see what those are called, if they're called teeth or some other term. But
Better scientific name for them.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And this is
That's an even bigger one. That little one would have gotten this big.
Let's do the lactarian test on this.
That one does feel a little juicier, doesn't it? Sometimes it takes a while.
It does feel a little moister.
Mm-hmm. And you see on this one how the gills pretty much go.
They're going down the stem a little bit.
They're long. They're not really interrupted.
Yes, I see that.
And I don't see.
Yeah,
any
they
more.
actually the gills pretty much run the radius.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I noticed, Marie, you have a basket of goodies
Yes.
that you brought. Let's take a look at what you have in your collecting basket.
All right, Bill.
I'm thrilled you covered the knife.
I'm going to put my stick down.
Okay.
Too. Okay, I'll take my water out.
Okay.
It's not very... Before coming today, I did have another stop, and I did find some boletes that were nice and firm, not like the first one that we saw today that was all dried up. These are fresh, and this is a different type. See how it has the moisture sort of gathered around the edge?
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating to me. I got a book for Christmas. It's boletes.
Mm-hmm.
It's this thick, and it's all boletes all day long. So many different types. This is a bicolor. You see there's two colors going on here.
Oh, and that has a reddish, brownish tone.
Yep. And yellow.
Yep.
So there's two colors.
And yellow.
And the pores are still quite tight on them. You don't see any insect activity in the stem, meaning it hasn't been invaded yet. So these are
no gills.
solid, right? Those
No
are
gills.
the pores.
These are pores.
Yep.
And from the pores come the spores.
Correct.
Okay.
You're catching on, Bill.
Okay.
This one here had another one growing over top of it. I think it was this one. It sort of was growing like that. So I thought that was pretty neat. It was still had nice color underneath. But see how it's cracking, a little older.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I don't see any evidence of insects in this one. And this one might have a little bit. See how there's some holes? So there might be some insects in there. You don't know till you cut it open.
What will you do with these?
Well, I'll take them home. I will slice them, see how nice and firm they are inside, and quite possibly I might have them for dinner.
Okay. All right. But again, to mention to the audience, you're comfortable with your identification.
Yes.
You have experience in this, and you should never eat them if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. Okay. Yep.
Will you feed these to your husband?
I might. Another thing, if we can talk edibility at all, just like anything, if you've never had it before and you do know that it is identifiably edible, even still, if you've never had this type of a fungus in your digestive system, you just want to take a little bite.
Mm-hmm.
See how it goes down, wait 24 hours. If you haven't had any adverse reaction to it, you're good to go.
This is for the skilled mycologist
Always.
and not for the lay person.
Right.
Carol, don't be collecting mushrooms and feeding them to me. Okay, let's continue on.
Thanks. We'll do that.
Okay, at this point, Marie, I think we're going to wrap this show up. I know there's a lot more to talk about, to find. This has really been informative for me. I know we're going to leave here and make another stop, and maybe we'll do another show there. But I want to thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, and you're a very earthy person.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you are, and you were saying before we were filming that you were you were bathing in the. You want to explain that?
Yeah, there's a new movement, I guess, that started in Japan. People want to get out of the city and just be in nature just for a little while. It's called forest bathing. And whenever I go in the woods, now that I know there's a name for that too, no wonder I feel so good when I come out of the woods. You just feel refreshed and clean again. And it's just a wonderful thing to get out in nature while we still have it.
Yeah.
We're very, very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much, and we're going to see you again on your backyard. And I want to thank you, the audience, for joining us on our first mycology walk.
It's a foray.
It's a foray,
Yeah.
okay, on our first mycology foray. And I think there's going to be more. And we'll see you next time on Your Backyard.